Okay, hi, so I'm Courtney Ferrell, and I'm actually doing about 48 hours. So you might not believe the next thing I'm going to tell you, which is in 2000, year 2000, I signed up for the Ironman. I don't know why, but I did. And about 11 hours into it, I was passed by a 68-year-old large-boned woman, and it occurred to me that this was really just a group of ordinary people doing something extraordinary. And as soon as I thought that thought, I became obsessed with it, and it planted itself in my mind, and then it began to grow, and I decided that in addition to my job, that I would start to travel the world and try and find the other ordinary people in the world who were doing extraordinary things. Because the notion came to me that just perhaps an extraordinary life isn't something just for the rich and famous or the connected, but that all of us would get a shot at that. And so that's what I started to do, and then slowly but surely it gave birth to this idea, to this idea of the extraordinary life project. And what I want to do in my 5 minutes is simply this. I want to start a conversation that's not going to end when this event ends. And I want to start a conversation. Let me tell you what I mean by that. I was in church 5 years ago. I've been since, but at my church, the preacher at my church calls all the little children up in the middle of the service for some comic relief. And at this one particular day, he said, "Kids, what's brown and furry, and has a big, long, bushy tail, and climbs up trees and gathers nuts?" And they were all completely quiet to the point where I, as an adult, actually wanted to yell out the answer. And finally, he picked up this one little boy. He said, "Malcolm, do you know what the answer is?" And he said, "I know the answer's supposed to be Jesus, but it sure sounds like a squirrel to me." And when I heard that, I thought, oh my God, that's it. That's what a conversation is. It's where you say what you think the answer is, not trying to impress somebody with your fancy stuff, right? So when we start talking about the Extraordinary Life Project and how we would each have a shot at living an extraordinary life, we just sort of talk right down from the heart. And also, one thing about a conversation, it's got to be a creative conversation. We can't just be working in all our old material, okay? And what I mean, I want to talk about two tenets of creativity very quickly. The first one is confusion tolerance. And I was in Denmark, again, on my quest to find ordinary people doing something extraordinary. I ran into a man named Henning, and he invited me to his office to show me everything he and his team have created. For what purpose, I still have no idea. Chairs that come out of the ceiling to save space, tables made out of toothpicks. In the middle of all this, he stops and says this: "If somebody on my team comes up with the solution, I kick him out of the room." What? He said, "Yeah, I'm not interested in the solution. We're all obsessed with the answer. We should be obsessed with building a mind that has a lot of ideas, that we just generate a lot of ideas, so we can pick from all of those ideas which might be the best direction for us." So when we're talking about an extraordinary life, having that open aperture, that big, wide open confusion tolerance. And the next thing is this, it's passion. And in my search around the world, I ran into a young man named John Morgan. He actually walked into our offices in Richmond, Virginia, and he came in. It's a creative consultancy. He came in, he said, "I want to work here." And we said, "Well, what training do you have?" He said, "None. I'm just passionate about creativity, innovation. I know it can change the world." And so, because you can't put a price tag on eager, we hired John Morgan to answer the phone. And the first day I came in, he was standing like this over the phone. And every time the phone rang, he'd say, "Good morning, Play, how can I help you?" People started to call just to hear John answer the phone. Then he decided that the on-hold music was lame. He's really passionate about the drums and music. So he started to hand-pick people's on-hold music. So people started to ask to be put back on hold so they could finish their song. Right? And then one morning he comes in with his drum set. I said, "John, what are you doing?" He goes, just wait. We have a meeting every morning at 8:30. He goes over and goes off on the drums. And everyone comes out and he goes, "Morning meeting starting." Just that idea of passion, letting it come out from you, that you're not trying to put a different sort of spin on who you are. You're totally who you are in every situation. So when we start talking about that extraordinary life, I'll tell you something else about passion. Martin Luther King did not say, "I have a strategic plan." He said, "I have a dream." And I have a dream, and that's that this idea of an extraordinary life, this idea of ordinary people, us, living an extraordinary life will become a movement. It'll become a movement not just of individuals, but it'll become a movement for educators, schools, governments, organizations, that we can start to actually look at the patterns of these ordinary people out there doing extraordinary things and start to put together some kind of formula that will help us each sort of implement that in our own lives. So if you can think of anyone while I'm here, come up to me and say, "God, I got this guy, girl, guy, whatever, organization. You got to call them. You got to hear their story." Thank you so much.